We're back from that short intermission that snuck up on us
There you go.
Yeah, talking to Sandra. Yeah, we're not, I don't know why, but we're not as well known. I mean, you've got the big Southwest Medical and the advertising healthcare partners, and you know, there's a lot of people that consider that to be the only healthcare in town, and our show is reasonably popular. I mean, I think people, you know, people will tell me they like the show, and I think that's the way. I mean, and if you're out there and you know somebody that wants to get the show, you can call Channel 41. They'll bring somebody out to put an antenna in for you.
Oh, yeah.
So it isn't like you have to, and I think it's on cable, Channel 12, is that what it is?
I'm not sure.
Yes,
Yes,
Channel
Channel
12 on the cable, the local cable. And that's, so if you're dialed into that, that's the way to do it. And I do think they play it on rerun several times during the week. And then for some of those old sessions, if you have a computer, there's a YouTube. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there was anything that was really interesting in the office today.
Well, don't maybe go to politics.
Oh. Yeah, you know, I kind of really enjoyed, you know, some of the patients come in and we talk about politics, and it's kind of a nice distraction from the everyday thing. People know I'm pretty conservative like you, and so I think if people are liberal-minded, they just don't say anything. I don't know, personally, I'm going to digress for just a second, you can chime in, but I believe Trump is trying to connect all the dots. He's letting the public trying to connect the dots of what they call the deep state, which is the entrenched government within the government.
Within the government, yeah.
Right, and these people that have been there for so many years that are liberal-minded, and the leaks they're doing, and the wiretapping, and the stuff that they're doing, and this is the part that's going to be exposed. It's going to be rather gut-wrenching for a lot of people, but once it's exposed, you'll be able to get. I think that's why politics are politics as usual, correct? Because I think if they're wiretapping people and they're doing all this stuff, I believe they you remember the movie Enemy of the State?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that probably may predict a lot of what you see. They get stuff on people and then they hold them hostage and they make them do some of the things. I know that's a little more on the conspiratory side of things, but
I cannot disagree with you.
and most people are afraid to say that stuff. I don't think Trump's afraid to say anything. He's not afraid to put it out there. Meaning, I think he has his organization in there that gives him the true information.
I think he's far smarter than they give him credit
for.
Oh,
absolutely.
And I think, and the way he uses the tweets and Twitter, and the way he gets his message across by bypassing
the media,
the mainstream media. Because I think. I don't trust the media. I don't believe a thing they say. I don't believe it's a thing I read on AOL. I just don't.
No. It's. I mean, you look at, you know, I go to Yahoo because I see the, you know, mail sometimes, and you see their slant. You know, you see the left-handed slant on everything. But it is a complex world out there, and it is a very tough place. I knew that would spark Ray calling back.
We knew you'd be back, Ray.
You got my number. I got your number, that's for sure. I told Noah, I says, every time I see the number on the TV, I want to dial it up, but I said I want to give other people a chance too. But when it's on there for a little bit, I just can't help it.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned CDC earlier. Do you really believe these people at the CDC? I've been watching Chuck Augustine's tapes about the different bias they have towards vaccines and putting kids in autism. Different members of the CDC are connected with the pharmaceutical companies. It seems like a major corrupt organization, and yet you guys, because you're doctors, you believe everything they say. I've seen doctors on some of these tapes saying, you know, I go to them for this and that for the information, and now I'm doubting if this information is correct. So if you can comment a little bit about it and explain to people what this is all about, I'd appreciate it, and I think your listeners would too. Thank you. Maybe I'll call back later.
Oh, yeah, we hope so. I think if you look at the CDC for certain things, it's very It can be good. I mean, if you're looking at the malarial outbreaks and some of the stuff that may be out there, like Zika and all the other stuff like that, that information out there is pretty reasonable. But when the CDC is being used as an arm to manipulate current practice of care, I think you're drawing a line, and I think you're going over that imaginary line. The Medicare and the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, looking at opioids and opioid addiction, to arbitrarily Medicare to send to Medicare Advantage plans. Now, remember, Medicare Advantage plans. This is not Medicare patients. They haven't gone that far yet. But they told some of these plans to limit the amount of morphine equivalents, to patients. So 90 is what Medicare wants to do. I mean, that would be like you taking no more than 8 hydrocodone a day. Well, you really shouldn't anyway because of the amount of Tylenol in there. But when you start getting into morphine, long-acting morphine, if you're taking long-acting morphine 60 and 60 or 100 and 100, and then you're going through some breakthrough pain, you can easily get close to this. I mean, 190, 60 is 120. And so I do not know what healthcare partners have done. I do know that Sierra Health set their morphine equivalents at 360. And you have to go to the CDC website to do opioid conversion. And I looked at their opioid conversions, and methadone is rated a lot higher than I would have. And methadone is one of these drugs that as you go higher in the dose, it becomes more potent. So so then they underrated Dilaudid, and they overrated oxycodone, but hydrocodone was 1-to-1 and codeine was 0.5-to-1. So it's all this strange conversion that now I've got to do when I have a senior dementia patient, so I know I don't send them over the limit. And then when I do, I have to go through this huge problem list to get them to authorize it. And what that does is it forces people to go outside the system to either get something on cash basis, so they bypass their health plan. So it hasn't solved the problem. It doesn't solve the problem at all, because it's just placing limits where limits don't need to be. Meaning, as a physician and you as a provider, the basic thing is you're not going to jeopardize, or you shouldn't jeopardize, number one, patient safety and patient health.
Absolutely right.
And then justify and sacrifice your livelihood and your license because somebody wants that. I mean, you just have to have reasonableness and prudence in everything you do. There has to be. This is my famous saying. Do you know what it is? If there's no method to your madness, it's just madness. So if you don't know why you're doing something, then you're just out doing it. And yet there are bad doctors out there that are pill pushers. There are people out there that will charge $200, come into the visit, go to the pharmacy next door and get whatever you want. I mean, it gives us a bad name, but that's the exception to the rule. And let me tell you, 3 years ago, before all this stuff started, you could go to the pharmacy, they never asked you a question on whatever you wanted to get. They'd fill 300, 200, it made no difference at all. And then all of a sudden now they toe the line, well, do you know what happened? Talk to Nye County Sheriff's Department, heroin.
Yep.
Heroin's made a big comeback because people can't get their opioids. So there's a lesson in there, and the lesson is that people are going to do what they're going to do because they want to do it. And Denmark and those other places,
Amsterdam,
that have that, basically that smorgasbord, because if you line up 20 people, there's a bell curve. 3 of them are going to get sicker than snot on opioids, and 3 of them are going to euphoria and want to repeat it, and the other 14 are going to be fine in the middle. And that's just the way society is. And so and as far as the CDC controlling, certain things, yes, it is governmentally run, and you just have to pick and choose which information that you're going to get from them.
There is the money that is generated by these pharmacies. What they tell us, I don't think is correct. I think it's probably 3 or 4 or 5 times higher than that they're making.
Well, you can just go to a foreign country and look in Mexico, and you can see what you can buy Prilosec for. I mean, you can buy it for next to nothing, but you go to the over-the-counter here, and it's 5, 6, 7 times that. I mean, yeah, it's the scales of economy, but at the same time, what they're charging for Harvoni for hepatitis C, okay, $30,000. I mean. What is that? I mean, is it R&D and you've got to make all your money? I just don't understand it. And then the pharmacies, they have a dispensing fee. I mean, you're talking about something like lisinopril, which could cost pennies for 1,000. I mean, you can buy 1,000 lisinopril blood pressure pills for literally $10, which is less than a penny a piece. But you fill a script and it's going to be 30 to 40 bucks.
Yep.
And because they get that huge dispensing fee, and that's how they make all their money now. And it's and I realize everybody's got to make something, but. My God, I heard it on Fox News the other day.
What about the markup on an EpiPen?
Oh my God, what is it? Epinephrine's out there for years. It's nothing. Yeah. Because you got a self-injector pen, you want to charge $300 for it?
$300. If you can get it at $300, buy as much as you can.
Oh really?
$1,000, Mike.
Really?
Yep. For an EpiPen.
Wow.
And it's been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
Those EpiPens. So I mean, it is pretty ridiculous. It is so out of control, like everything else in America right now. I mean,
I think Trump said he was going to try and do something about that, and he should. I mean, big pharma should not be. It's okay to make. I just don't see the rationale behind taking someone and taking them over a barrel for that much money for something that's
$30,000 for hepatitis medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you don't get it, you die.
Like I said. Anyway, we're going to go to break, and we'll talk about that and other issues when we come back. Thanks for tuning in.